Hello and welcome to this week's edition of The Public Square, your current affairs show coming to you on Meri Online channel. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Farzam Kamalabadi. Got it right?
Perfect.
Dr. Kamalabadi is an academic, but he's also chairman of Future Trends Movement. He works with and advises governments, non-state actors, and non-governmental organizations on policy development. He also advises policymakers regarding the best way to deal with global challenges. Welcome to the Public Square, Dr. Kamalabadi.
Well, it is precious to be in Botswana and in Gaborone and in your presence and with the audiences.
Very good. Appreciate that. Future Trends Movement, a movement that you chair. What is it all about?
Future Trends created a manifesto or a charter, the name of which is Future Trends Africa Manifesto. The movement it created is called the Collective Peaceful Rise of Africa. It is collective and it is peaceful, but it ends up in a fast rise. We call it the surprise rise of Africa. Surprise because it is meteoric and because it will surprise the Africans themselves and also will surprise the Western world as well as China and other countries. Because it is the right time, the right moment, and the right elements, and Africans elevate themselves.
Very good. You are very passionate about the project Collective Rise of Africa movement. Now, going through some of your work, you seem to be suggesting that Africa is a shadow of what it used to be, and that the continent is about to restore its past glory. If somebody said to you, you are romanticizing the past, and perhaps you are being nostalgic about the past, how would you respond to that?
First of all, we look into the future, not just the past. It is the elevation of the nations and the entire continent in a short time and very realistically and pragmatically. So it's not well-wishing, it is not utopia, but it is practical roadmap and methodologies and modeling and also systems that will ensure that Africa in all stratas and in all fields will have a mega wealth generation machinery. So the question to you, it is not about romanticizing what was in the past. There were periods of times where African nations, for example, Zimbabwe was giving loan to England. And so was Malawi, giving a lot of aid and support to Taiwan. So there is there, but we are not talking about that level. We are not talking about Vision 2063. Only 40 years and very little, only mid-level affluence. No. It should be only 1 decade and full force first world-class citizens. That means the whole of Africa, that is 1.5 billion people, 55 nations, only $3 trillion economy, should reach in 10 years to $60 trillion economy, 20x multiplier. That means it's much bigger than today. We are not talking about only independence of economy. We are talking about creating super affluence and also distributing it as well as exporting it. So that the Africa, which is actually potentially the wealthiest region and nation of the world, the mother continent, will manifest the potential. So only to have potential is not valuable. To have an aim and a goal is not valuable. To practice it out and live it out and exercise it out and manifest it, but by all levels of the society. Government series, academic series, media series, banking series, enterprise series, the youth, the women, and all the rural areas. And in the government alone, the head, the heart, the pillars, the whole elements of the dot matrices, of the whole matrix of nations with the right array and the right modeling will arise. We call it converge, merge, integrate, aggregate, capitalize, monetize, digitalize, multiply, surplus, distribute, and export wealth. That means that why you wait to receive or sometimes beg wealth from China? China was poor, we lifted it up. Okay, and why you have to wait for US or Europe? We love them all, we are not against them. We don't need to be indignant, but Africa's own time. Domestic wealth generation machineries, methodologies, modelings. And that comes from inventory taking of what we have. And we have everything, not just the visible ones. We have oil, gas, mineral, all the mines of the world, 50, 60, 70, 80 of the top mines of the world in all the 30 countries, among the 50 countries. So Saudi has only oil, no gas. Qatar has only gas, no oil. Have no other mines and minerals that is developed. Here you have 50 elements, so you are already 50x, 100x richer than Saudi or Kuwait or Qatar or even UAE. How do we materialize it, realize it, and manifest it, and contribute it out? There are methodologies, there are technical methodologies, mental methodologies. We are now unleashing the creative forces in Africa, especially the human capital, human mind, mental capital. And that comes only from one direction. Move away from being the receiver to become creator and giver. That means, for God's sake, we don't need to be begging, okay, neither from foreign powers nor from the government. So I call it horizontally, you don't be the receiver. Vertically, you don't be the receiver. You are the source. Source mentality. Africa, you are Duma, you are the lion. You are the roaring lion. You are not a little kitten saying, meow, give me my milk and I'm happy. No, no passive. We have to be proactive. We have to be creative. We have to reveal the dignity that was and is in Africa. Why I call on the glory of the past, not necessarily materially. You have tribal mechanisms of consultation. You have Ubuntu. You have many, many merits that once it is galvanized, activated, promoted, discovered, it changes the whole ecosystem. So we talk about psychological change. Okay, what does it mean to be source mentality? First, don't wait for any handouts, neither from your government nor from foreigners. And you tell them and tell myself, I can create, I can be great, and I can contribute. So never be receiver, but giver. Be the source and the source mentality, but many more. For example, we are talking about, as I said, the African nations, 5 of them in 2 years must issue foreign outbound debt issued by Africa nations and outbound to Europe. Game over. Why I call it game over? Because now for about a few hundred years, you don't expect this to happen. But I say, Africa has been subsidizing Europe for 500 years. It is Africa that has been subsidizing America for 300 years. It is Africa that has been and is subsidizing China for 50 years. What does it mean? It means not necessarily proactively or self-consciously. It was taken maybe by force. Even the slavery, it is your subsidy of America. On top of that, they build their nations and their wealth. Now use the same elements for your own. Not that Africa is selfish. Africa was never selfish. You build your own wealth and have accumulation of it, then you have the power of distributing to whoever you want.
Good. Okay, let's hold it there, Dr. Farzam, because we are now going for a short commercial break. We'll continue with our conversation on the other side of the break.
Okay.
Good.
Do you want to stay in touch with the up-to-the-minute breaking news countrywide, regional and international coverage, as well as in-depth analysis from Botswana's most trusted media house? Then head over to www.megi.bw where you can also enjoy access to premium articles, long reads, features, and exclusive opinions. Whether you're looking for updates on politics, health, education, business and the economy, or sports, and many more, we have you covered. Sign up on the website and choose a package suitable for you. We also have packages for organizations at affordable rates. Visit www.mehi.bw and enjoy the finest journalism and news you need to know.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, we are on the public square, and this week we are in conversation with Dr. Farzam Kamalabadi. He is the chairman of Future Trends Movement. Welcome back, Doc. What you said just before we went for break was quite profound. However, some leaders on the African continent, including former President of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, have championed what they called African Renaissance. Others have tried it before, this Renaissance idea, but it has not taken place. What makes you think that Africa can rise through your initiative?
First of all, Renaissance is repeating of something in the past. We are creating something that has never been done, and it is futuristic, and yet it is realistic, and it is imperative that it will happen. There is no choice anymore. We are talking about Africa emerging into the world community as the leaders, not as followers. And it is for several reasons. First of all, it is the decade of Africa. In London, at Queen Elizabeth Hall, with the Chancellor of the British government on the same platform, in front of 900 people, I announced that the next decade, the number one engine of finance and economy of the world is Africa, number two, India. No more China, no more America. Doesn't mean we don't want America to rise. It doesn't mean we don't believe in China. We want the balancer effect. And why? Because Europe went through the Renaissance and industrialization. America went through industrialization and capitalism or finance. China went through new industrialization. China buys the world. China sells to the world. But that process is too slow. We are talking about Africa rising not just by new industrialism, but by unleashing and releasing the dormant assets under the ground. Before you mine and before you industrialize, you can keep an inventory, make an asset, clear what we call it proven reserves by blockchain, by recording, by taking all the samplers and creating a financial bankable notes. And this is through the ministries of finance, governors of central bank, with all the different assets. Mineral Resources Bank, Agricultural Resources Bank, Water Resources Bank, even Real Estate Resources Bank, structural, as well as human capital. And use those as the economic power that is latent now to be revealed. It's called the futures value. Like you have oil current trading and you have futures trading. Always futures is multiple of the currents because there is a wave on top of a real assets. So that means there are elements that when countries, they take inventory and they realize they have trillions of dollars in the ground, now there is proven reserves, and now they float it as papers in all the financial markets, including the modern blockchain crypto exchanges, which is now coming up globally, and that cash it out earlier is like the analogy of the whole, what we call iceberg. The tip you are chipping, that is the economy of the developed world. But how about the body of the iceberg that is under the ground? If you can calculate it and prove the reserves as the backer of the future economy of the world, you can monetize it right now. So it's bypassing 2 generations of economic development. That is too slow. So we have ways that what I call, as I said, the consensus of the leaders, the arrangement of all the projects. So you have both the classic assets as well as the hybrid with digital assets. We are talking about the Future Generation Fund, Sovereign Wealth Fund, in classic assets and digital economy, and the multiplier effect. So there are modeling of economy and finance, but also the modeling of the mental changes and creativity of the private entrepreneurs. So the government, certain policies can be backing the rise of the private entrepreneurs. And policies that welcomes more, opens the market of Botswana and Africa for more foreigners rather than less. Yet the controls in the hand of the locals and of the government. So we call it PPIP, private, public, international partnership. Everyone benefits in a pro rata and in a balanced manner. So we want more domestic Botswanan enterprises with more ability to raise money from the domestic market and more ability to invest in the assets that are being floated on more classic stock markets here and futures trading mercantile exchanges in here, as well as more foreigners coming in. Don't be afraid, open the country, but in a manner of the organized and with the right sound policies that will direct the foreign capital to come and merge with the private, create joint ventures. This is the models we did in China. In China, we had layers, what we call totally needed foreign direct investment in the industrial sectors that are open. Industrial sectors that are, well, favored but not fully open. Those that are neutral, those that are actually discouraged, those that are actually controlled or even prohibited. So the legislation needs to find ways to more open the gates for foreigners to come in and foreign investments to come in and enterprises, not block them, but at the same time, selectively, they will go to the right places, channelizing them with the right partnerships with the local partners, with the right assets. And in the assets, let not the foreigners take the too much higher shares. In Mozambique, the gas assets, 200 TCF. We are talking about the Qatar of the Middle East, but we have basically Shell on the one hand, Total on the other hand, and they own 90% shares or 95%. That means the local government and the population is only taking 5%. So imbalanced. Even what I call countries such as, for example, the Sultanate of Oman 60 years ago, when Shell just came, they have only resource very poor, and yet they have 40% shares, and the investor only 60%. Now it's 50-50 even. So we should arrange a situation that many more foreigner, domestic, and African investors come in, but the right shares will go back to them. They benefit, but not preponderantly too much.
Good.
So the benefit comes to the not only government, the PPIP, but also to the population. I call it the champagne effect. You bring foreign investments from the large organizations to some main companies who involve the mid-level companies, who involve the small companies. You know, it's the analogy of Boeing. You have first spare parts, 200 factories. Combined become 30 factories of components. The components converge and they create the Boeing, or you can call it spaceship. So the economy should be like a mountain. There are some tops. We don't say egalitarian, it will never work, but not what I call inordinate differentiation between super rich and super poor.
Yeah.
You have a flooring of poverty and you have a roof of wealth. In between the differentiation, let them freely play. It's all to do with wise governance, management, with wise strategies, policies, legislation changes.
Yes. Now, I like the fact that you gave the example of China. China is one country. Africa comprises over 50 countries. It's a continent.
Yes.
And listening to what you are saying, it makes a lot of sense, the way you break it down and the various models that could be followed. But now the question is, how do you do it with 50 countries, with different laws, with, everybody wants to be the president, wants to be the prime minister, they have that different regulatory regimes and all these things. How do you then do and just as a follow-up to that, is there any buy-in into this proposal or this initiative that you are saying?
Absolutely. Allow me to first dwell on China. I put my heart and soul to China, so I'm not at all anything negative about them, all positive. We want them to rise more and more and contribute to the world. I wrote China to be in the service of the world of humanity. In fact, my policies of encouraging China outbound investment early on, when they were not outbound investment, they were inbound. 1993, I changed policies. And you can say my policies in China already helped China to come here and help Africa for the past 30 years, indirectly. But they were very poor. There was a time that China, the highest salary was $30, only a few people. Majority of them had iron rice bowl. That means government handed them very little and also bare subsistence. And they had no incentive to work. You say, oh, they were lazy? Well, now we see they are not. You say Africans are lazy? No! I believe the incentive and also the rise of the model of being entrepreneurial and creating wealth and distributing to others. So what China did, they were writing the ugly Chinese. That means our civilization is dead, the yellow civilization is dead, China is dead, there's pessimism totally. They even said that we cannot build anything because our language is only pictorial. We don't have alphabet. Look at America and Europe. They are so wealthy because they have an alphabet language. They are like the bricks. We are like the sand. We had to argue with each one of them that no, the arrow kept in captivity, prolonged, now released, it will go fast. Same with Africa. We are talking about, again, the arrow of injustice, imbalances, in captivity, now with the point of release. So, how do you do it? First of all, as I said, the way China did it was first an excitement, a buzz, and what you call a new vitality in the economy. Then allowing the private economy. China was 95% governmental economy, 98%. Then it became 70% private, only 30% governmental. So that policies helped. And also competition between US, Europe, here, there, Japan, Korea, all of them came. Make a healthy competition that they will compete to come in and to benefit from the rise. When I announced that Africa in 10 years will have $60 trillion, today is $3 trillion, 20x. The Dubai government came to me. The US government came to me. All the Arab world, even the India, they said, really? Because we trust you. You did it China. Now you are raising Africa $60 trillion. We want to take $2 trillion market share. Somebody said, no, I'm happy with $1 trillion. I don't want the billions anymore. But I said, if you want to come, you have to jump with the right mindset. You have to be humble. You have to consider the local populations first. Then the government will make the right policies. You cannot steal the assets outside. You have to combine your investments with contributions to the society. You have to pack them together. So the whole idea is that China learned how to make money. I remember one story. There was a room just like this. That was the airport of the Hangzhou city. I use this analogy. I went there. It was night. No light. Not like this, so light. There were 7 goats, 20 chickens, and 50 people lying down there, so dirty, so old, and so thin. They were all ill. They raised themselves up because of the karma. They believed. I sold to them a new realm of possibilities that they didn't believe was their destiny, that they will be the leaders in the world. I wrote so many articles. I did so many television interviews in the Houston. in the Houston, most conservative, Texas television, everybody was against China in 1990 after Tiananmen Square. I was the only voice that said China is rising and will become a leader in the world. And they challenged, and they didn't believe in it, and they had doubts, and then it happened. So I believe the prophetic words also matter. I appeared here, I am determined, I helped 1.3 billion people of China raise out of poverty. I have done it, I have all the resume, I have all the proofs. And it's all documented anyway.
Yeah.
So when you have the largest nation of the world raised out of poverty, you brought a good point. That's one country. Here we have this. China, one country, 1.5 billion. India, one subcontinent, but a country, 1.5 billion people of the world. Africa, 55 countries, 54, 55, a bigger continent, but also 1.5 billion. Number-wise, they are the same. The GDP here is $3 trillion, in India $3.4 trillion, $3.2 trillion, China $19.3 trillion. So can they catch up? I believe easily. With good governance, good belief. You have to first believe in yourself. You know, when you are pessimist, just the way China was. When you are downtrodden, you don't believe anything, you become withered flower. You have no vitality and life. There's no way you grow. But once you have the belief, and then every karma, every mind, every operations, every activation changes.
Good. Let's hold it there, Prof. We are going to go for a short commercial break. Please keep it locked. Don't go away. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, we are on the public square. And this week we are in conversation with Dr. Farzam Kamalabadi. He is the chairman of Future Trends Movement. Welcome back, Dr. Farzam. As you conclude on the point that you were making just before the break, I would also like you to maybe touch on the practical steps that your movement is taking, but also how far the movement has gone.
As the movement is continent-wide, we can call the future United States of Africa, or even though the independence of nations will remain, we believe in unity in diversity. We believe in political oneness and unity, not against each other. Okay, multi-tribes, multi-nations, yes, it is very diverse. So the way you would do it, I call meridian points. I have run around the continent just like Confucius did 3,000 years ago. Running around, at that time China wasn't one China, all the different warring states, and solicit support and create a new education system. In his case, he wasn't successful in his lifetime. In my case, no. I'm already successful with China. I'm going to be very much successful. It has all the signs of Africa. We will deliver results to the world, not me alone. There is a whole galaxy of good-hearted souls on the continent and outside who have joined. We created Vortex so that things become automatic. Now, today, we have Sir Raila Odinga fully in the picture and aware of the Future Trans Africa Manifesto, and will be also guiding the process of the different nations joining and rising. We have not only Raila Odinga, we have Mama Gracia, the wife of Nelson Mandela, fully in the picture and fully supportive. We have also many presidents. We have also Papa Simon Kimbangu Kiangani of Congo and of the time Zaire, with all the countries around Angola, and so he and his 40 million followers fully supportive of this whole movement. They allowed us to go there many times, and I brought our whole delegations. All the whites in my delegations learned to bow down fully in front of the black people and civilization, because it's the balancer effect. And so now we have in their media a lot of information of how this rise happens. We have many of the kings in the different countries are also with us. We have at least presidents, for example, President John Mahama. We have, of course, our dear brother, President Duma, Gideon Boko, who himself on his own merit is already enlightened and is futuristic, and he's also a leadership of not only for Botswana, not only SADC region, not only Africa, but globally. He is a believer that we built knowledge here, and we refine it, and we exercise it, produce action and results, and we showcase it to the world, so that the world will learn from Botswana and not the other way around only. Of course, it's mutual. So we have many other presidents. I personally went and visited President Mnangagwa, and he changed one policy based on my proposal, what we call Lithium Valley. I said, don't sell lithium. And he banned it a week after I left. And so now many other countries are following. We have the whole of Mozambique will be implementing the Future Trends Africa Manifesto alongside with their own wisdoms. We have the Frelimo Party chairman, the two chairmans, former President Chesano, President Gebuza, and last year they made a whole summit of Future Trends Africa Manifesto, the rise of Mozambique. At that time, it wasn't the time. With the new president, Daniel Chapo, whom I visited, again, is talking about economic independence, and we said not only independence, it has to be super wealth creation. You have only $8 plus $4 billion of debt. With one gas contract improvement, you pay all of it back. With another contract, you have surplus and you start issuing debt outbound to Europe. Game over. They are going to do it. Not only the Frelimo or the president or the future president or the past presidents, also their next generation, their children I met with several times. Not only them, we have a large team there. Not only that, then we also have the whole movement. For example, we have there the mayor of, as an example, the mayor of the whole Maputo city. We have the governor of the Nampula, which is 6.5 million people. The mayor of Beira, the mayor of the Pamba, I took him to China. So we have a whole grassroots all the way up and back down. We want to activate the cities contracting with each other, not waiting for foreign investment or for the government handout. So the same thing with Malawi. When I visited, I met former President Muluzi. Okay. President Muluzi, President Mutharika, President Joyce Banda, all separately. President Chekawera we met. He also changed several legislations after meeting me. And now we have Atupele Muluzi. We have the whole group of all the ministers. Okay. Always we go to the president, vice president, chairman of the National Assembly, prime minister if there are, even the head of the national securities. That's the heart, that's the head. Then we go to Minister of Finance, Governor of Central Bank, Minister of Digitalization, Minister of Planning Commission, that's the finance. Then the pillars, always ground. First, Minister of Land, Agriculture, Mining, Oil and Gas, Energy, Water, and then we go up to infrastructure, superstructure, industry, back to finance. So we create the convergences.
That's good.
And so we have done that now. I've gone myself to 20 African countries, just running like the old-time Confucius. But I got all the responses. Everybody, actually, Future Trends Africa Manifesto, before John Mahama comes to power, by some other teams, was read fully in and on the floor of the parliament.
Good. Actually, that brings me to my next question. Going through your work in terms of your speeches and your writings, you seem to believe that the Democratic Republic of Congo and Nigeria hold the key to Africa's rise and ascendance. What informs that?
Okay. First of all, I am a believer in the divine destiny and the purity of the heart and motive. Whichever leader has that will draw down the blessings of God, will get the support of the masses, and our program comes in and is implemented. I have discovered now Botswana is the place. So we will be making our headquarters definitely here. But I believe in every nation has their right and their role, and they can contribute. As I said, it's the different meridian points. The reason I mentioned Congo and Nigeria, first, Nigeria is the first African black nation, 2.4 million. So it's very important, the population and the size is a giant. If it giant wakes up, it will affect all others. And Sir Tinubu did adopt my statement. He read it loud last year that in 3 years, $1 trillion is possible. Now they are $500 billion, yes, double up. Congo, no. Congo is $50, $60 billion. The pocket money of one Chinese company, very little. but they are the wealthiest nation on earth, not in the continent. They have the 80 to 90% of the minerals that is for the future generations of the whole economy of energy, finance, digital, computer, solar panels, anything. All the raw materials is there. Imagine if we say 240 countries, 90% of the water of the world is in one country. What does that mean? That's the same case. Yes, if Congo wakes up and cleans up, and Rwanda and the peace comes domestically, externally, by both domestic power of command and the international have to listen to them, the peace is awarded, everything will change and will rise. Why? Because if they become large, the Congo, DRC has the chance to be in 10 years $5 trillion economy, not 50 billion. That's 50 billion, 10x is 500 billion. And 10x is another 100x. We have to work at it. Can it do it? I know the modeling and methodology, how for sure, because I did it with China. But I need to be plugged in with all. I met many of the ministers, even the deputy prime ministers and many others, but not yet fully taken in. So we are looking for wherever there is what I call, there is, the word that we use is capacity as well as readiness. Okay, there is an intelligence and also willpower, expectations that if it happens, then their karma and their situational will change, will drastically change. The reason I said is because they are large. When they get the act together, even a little bit, even 10% of my goals, they will make a domino and ripple effect.
That's right.
Why? Because when China was poor, even the Chinese overseas were down. And they were not at all influential anywhere. But when China rose, through China, Indonesia rose, Thailand rose, Cambodia rose, and Vietnam rose. Even Dubai, many of its rise was by the extra overflow that was from the China's rise. So
Good.
the spillover power.
Yeah. Now, you say, actually, before I ask that question, let me preface it by saying China is where it is now after 40 years since they embarked on
Let
these
me correct
reforms.
it a bit.
Okay.
China was communist, and even now, by name and by some of the methodologies, it's communist. China's open door was through Henry Kissinger, but nothing happened to China 20 years even after that opening.
Is it?
Yes, until 1992.
Yes,
Okay.
with the Deng Xiaoping.
And then, Deng Xiaoping. And even in the Deng Xiaoping, not much happened until after 1918 on, as the reversal of the Tiananmen Square. I got involved with China in 1981, when China was the poorest. China was sending refugees out to North Korea. That's how poor they were.
So that's how many years roughly? 30?
No, 25 to 30.
25 to 30, very good. No, that's fine. But you are saying that Africa can actually achieve greatness and even go beyond China, go beyond the global West even in 10 years, and you are calling it a surprise. How is that possible?
Again, I have gone to 35 countries. I've gone personally to 20 and 15, 20 others have joined. Now the process is accelerating. When the new presidents and the new cabinets are now implementing it fully, openly, and combining it with their own wisdoms, that is, I see the acceleration. Because I wrote this Future Trends Africa Manifesto in March 2022. By August, I went to Nigeria a few times, and I gave it to Senator Abu Ibrahim and many others who take it to Tinubu 9 months before he became president. Many of the elements were adopted, but not fully. I sat with Vice President Shatima for hours, and yet they adopt partly. Now, if imagine next time they take the whole program and run with it, sure there will be much changes. Because the changes are not through fiscal policy. Fiscal policies are like makeup. It is by legislation changes and by domestic wealth generation machineries. Just to list again, very simple. The rise of the private economy and the legislations that supports that. The inventory taking of the whole nation, so we know exactly on agriculture, on water, on minerals, and every other thing, what do we have and how we release. That is inventory taking and utilization of the dormant assets. And beyond that, also issuing a foreign debt. All of a sudden, the whole karma changes. The whole Africans will say, we are risen. We issue the debt to Europe. The tables have turned. The destiny has changed. You know what that signal does? The warp of the mind? Even if this happens in 2 years, the 7 years after that, the entire Africa will rise. It's galvanization. The whole world will look at Africa differently. So I am putting what I call this dynamite fishing, putting some unexpected results that changes the view of yourself. Because everything comes when you don't believe in yourself. And I will create an imperative that the belief in themselves of the Africans, of their own powers, will become imminent, permanent, and imperative. And that means I'll put the ecosystem and the models of the world in a corner. You must recognize the greatness of Africa.
Good. Let's hold it there. We are going to take another commercial break. Please stay tuned. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Very good.
Do you want to stay in touch with the up-to-the-minute breaking news countrywide, regional and international coverage, as well as in-depth analysis from Botswana's most trusted media house? Then head over to www.megi.bw, where you can also enjoy access to premium articles, long reads, features, and exclusive opinions. Whether you're looking for updates on politics, health, education, business and the economy, or sports, and many more, we have you covered. Sign up on the website and choose a package suitable for you. We also have packages for organizations at affordable rates. Visit www.megi.bw and enjoy the finest journalism and news you need to know.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, we are on the public square. And this week, we are in conversation with Dr. Farzam Kamalabadi. He is the chairman of Future Trends Movement. Welcome back, Dr. Farzam. Another thing that I picked from one of your lectures as I was preparing for this interview is that you seem to tie the rise of Africa to cooperation or some understanding with India. Why India and not China or the global West?
First of all, the model itself is not picking up one player. It is Africa in totality with all of the world. I call it proxy peace. You become neutral zone, you attract all the players. Some of them have preponderating share. India, the reason is that there has been 300 years and the largest population of Indians in Africa than any other country. They have settled and they have built actually many of the industries, commerce, trade and locals, but they are not yet as active. The newcomer China surpassed them. I'm activating them. Also because I believe that India is also poor and Africa is relatively, we can say, and both of them should rise together. Why? Because they have both the motive and the speed of their growth. India is a rising giant. Africa is a rising giant that will surpass all. And not in pride, not in anger or indignation, but actually will lead the world and will contribute to the world. So, but if the two of them, another reason is because India solved a lot rural development, micro lending, local agricultures, and local management. And so they are not only a macro aggregate, they are micro, they can go in many. So, but also, as I said, I am after the balancer effect. 1.5 billion people of China, 1.5 billion people of India, and 1.5 billion people of Africa. Together is 4.5 billion people of the world, 2/3 of humanity. Africa is totally ready because of many elements. The youth, 70-60% of the youth, the minerals, the thinking, the history, and it will rise. India, okay, is on the rise already. Now, both of them will be in a balancer effect. That means the 4.5 billion will be all out of poverty. The whole model is not about money making for me, for this, for that entrepreneur. It's the total, as I said, distribution and also trickle-down effect. China, for sure, rose out of poverty. They were the largest in poverty and lower. They had a starvation after the Cultural Revolution, just before 1980s. Now they are totally on the top of the world. You can say they have surpassed on many levels the West. So that's why now Africa has the same power and the same abilities with more force. Africa is not a country, it's a continent. A few of them are giants, the rest of them, but they have much larger size and much larger. Even half of Congo, the community of Papa Simon Kimbangu, 1 million square kilometers. That's the size of Germany and France and Italy put together. It is 1.5 times bigger than the all East China, 8 provinces, Taiwan, Fujian, Jiangsu, Zhejiang, Shandong, Shanxi, and Shanghai put together. Okay, so with all of that land, size, resources, and now you will be backing them, the industrial wars, and yourself will grow up. So that's why I am a believer that Africa as a continent is coming up as a balancer effect. So India, not only India, Russia has to come more. Not only Russia, all the GCC. Now Dubai is investing $96 billion, become number 1 investor, more than China, more than America. I sat with the whole national leaders of Dubai many times when I wrote the Future Trends Africa Manifesto. We are galvanizing the entire planet. The boss, Africa first. Africa is the imperative. Africa will rise, will create $60 trillion, and backtrack. I say the end, I'm left-handed. I always go to the end and I make it backward. So when it is $60 trillion and you are all these big countries, if you don't take you have to be humbled and take a market share. You are the beggars. I'm sorry to say, you should be. You should be imploring Africa, please allow me part of your parcel of your development. I will contribute and serve you. I get my share.
Good.
Win, win, win.
Win-win, yeah.
We are not against anyone. We are non-political, non-partisanal. We are for the peoples of humanity and the masses of humanity. They have to be totally not amelioration of poverty. Total eradication of poverty.
That's right.
I see $1.3 billion of Africa out of poverty once and forever.
Wow.
My answer is that, do you want to do it? 1.5 billion people of the continent, including the foreign friends. Our Mr. Jamalis and your televisions and other people, the private, the government, all of us have common shared destinies of humanity. Raise the populations out of poverty.
Good.
No questions asked. If you have the determination that I have, and a little bit purity of motives that we have is more powerful than atomic bomb. It's like the big bang of the creation of the universe. And not I'm talking to the leaders, to the government, to the rural people. The rural people have power. I come from villages.
Yes. Now, in your lectures, consistently, you keep on saying the arrow of Africa's wealth is kept in captivity, which I thought was very profound. What do you mean by that?
What I mean is that certainly the economy of the world developed and the economy has become digital, and there are many of the resources are the feed, are the oxygen of other economies. You hold the oxygen. You hold the neck. I'm not telling you to be like suffocating other nations. No. You array, organize, and give them their shares, and of the futures of that inventory, make a financial plan, make an accounting book, and sell that in the markets of the world. And part of your local population also participate. Any city can issue government bond. Maputo will do that. I have told them. Every country can raise their own digital coins. And every country can sell their futures to the investors, including their own investors, and backtrack their own wealth creation. These are all methodologies and enablers that we will bring here together with the government. But not only that, your question was exactly...
The arrow of Africa's wealth is kept in captivity.
When the world is rising, the highest source of energy, I mean the energy of human creativity, fresh. You know how many rural areas, if they are educated, how much giants they'll become much bigger than us. Okay? So first the human souls, their education, they're given the chance. And now digital is going to them. They don't need to leave the villages. They can be educated by tablets, by metaverse, multiverse, all the AIs, all the digital, and they'll be in the world under, even under 2D, they can see the whole world, how the television and the radio went to the world. Now even the 3D images, the replica, we call it the twinning of all the different assets, can be available to their hands. So it is a potential of creativity that is kept in captivity. Why? Because they were put down subliminally that you're nobody.
That's right.
You don't know anything, and you cannot produce anything. Even the very good-hearted people who are here, they say that, oh, Botswanas, maybe they are not so proactive. Everybody says they are peaceful, they never fight, but they're also laid back. Yeah, you are laid back. China was worse laid back. China was, I know a lot of my friends, they were so psychologically dead, they didn't want to come out of their homes. They didn't want to meet people. They didn't want to create and make any economy or any money. They were coming complaining to me, you are coming from a developed world. You live in the, what we call it, pie in the sky. Our reality is here.
Yes.
I changed that reality.
Talking about China again, you have worked with the Chinese before and actually contributed to the success that China has achieved today. Now, you want to replicate that model in Africa. Tell me, what is it about your approach that makes your model attractive to all cultures?
Okay, let me first say this. In China, there was a different time. Okay, I was young. I learned Mandarin, Cantonese, Shanghainese, writing, hieroglyphic writing, the Book of Tao, the poetry, everything, more than most of them. And I therefore was able to reach to the high levels, including like 1/3 of the generals of the army who write calligraphies. And I never meet them in their offices. You cannot meet. But in the big halls, out of their habitual shell and writing calligraphies, I met them all. And I put a lot of ideas into them. Everyone. I went to 1,000 counties, 500 cities. I gave lectures, at least 2,000. I reached tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of audiences. And I changed, and I changed. In Africa, I cannot do that, but still I go. I go to every country, I go to the villages. I sleep in the villages. I get the bites. I still have bites from 3 months ago. But I do it. I don't wait for anyone. Because even me single-handedly, I am determined I will change Africa. For the better, for their good. But I believe all the great souls have come to me. Here is Sister Ruth, and there are so many thousands, Mr. Omar, and everywhere. I have literally thousands. So what it means, you lift a banner which is selfish, selfless. From my part is selfless. For the people is for their good. They all join. So why I use China as a benchmark? Because it was early on. I was a young lad. I could not tell them openly what my plans were. They would have blocked it. I gradually gave them the new ideas. It worked and it turned. I'm not developing Africa on a model of China. Not at all. If I was that, I would be a route machine. No, I am not. It's creative, innovating with the Africans themselves. They are giving me a lot of ideas and opinions. They are guiding me in the situations, how to do, what to do. So it's a fertile seed on a fertile ground. Okay? So it is a combination. That's why one of the methodologies, the key I did not mention, is good that you bring it up. I went to every chancellor of any country that I visit of the universities. So I go to the universities, and this is my help needed from now, from Botswana. And I will go to the universities with the government. I go to the universities chancellors. and to the PhD students and master's students. If there are 1,000 in the country or 500, I need only 10%, 50 students. Write your dissertations on all the elements of the collective peaceful rise of Africa. Write about how we issue surplus money to give foreign debt outbound. Write about the source mentality, how we make the entire populations realize their greatness. There's psychologies, there's methodologies, there is how the media can become the guide of the nations. Write a dissertation paper, very technical, very professional. When you write, and it is very high-end, we coach you. When we do the training and you write it, 50 pages, 100 pages, booklet, put together, we issue many books. It will go to the government as a think tank to go and implement. It goes to the media as the knowledge homegrown that I will now dissipate to the populations and to the masses. It will go as a homegrown knowledge. From Botswana, they have now learned how to raise their own nations collectively and peacefully, and these are the dissertations knowledge, and there's many practical mannerisms. I take it to Harvard University and publish, and Stanford, and we take it to even European universities and we publish as Africa on the Rising. As of now, I will be surprising you next time, because now I don't want to say news ahead of what is planned here in this country.
No, we'll have another date.
You will have, see the what I call the surprise rising stars of the Africa's firmament.
Right, we'll leave that one to the next interview. Yeah. So time is the tyranny of time has caught up with us, and that brings us to the end of this week's show. Thank you very much for watching. We shall see you next week.
And our populations and our interview.
Thank you very much, Dr. Farzam.
Thank you very
much. It's nice to have you on the public square.
Thank you, my friends, the people of Botswana.
Good. Thank you very much.